welcome to Therapy Book Thursday. Today we are going to read Grief is an Elephant, written and illustrated by Tamara Ellis Smith and Nancy Whitesides. And if you haven't guessed it, yep, we are on another book about children's grief because November is Children's Grief Awareness Month. And so this is the second book for the month that I will be reading with a grief focus. You can find my other books that I have also read related to grief and various other topics that can be related to therapy in some way on my pages where I read the books, or on my Amazon list where all the books that I read are on the list, so you can either purchase them on Amazon, your local library, or a local bookstore. And let's get started. Grief is an Elephant. Sometimes grief is an elephant. You might hear her heavy pancake circle feet, or she might take you by surprise. It's hard to breathe under all that grief. Close your eyes. Nope, she's still there. Howl into her giant ears. She doesn't care. Push her with your hands, shoulder, forehead. Lean into her with your whole body. Now quick, slip out from under her and run. She's fast, but you're faster. Still, grief always comes back, only now she's a deer. Walk away slowly, backward. Shh. But grief's two tall ears easily track your footsteps. Find a four-leaf clover, or cross your fingers, or knock on wood. Hope with all your heart, and maybe you can make grief go away. Not forever, though. When grief comes back, she's a fox. Maybe offer her your hand, then touch the tip of her nose. Touch her small feet. They've traveled so many miles, but they still feel soft like corduroy. What does she want? A story? A song? Some tea? Some toast? You know she hears you. She has those colossal clever ears, but she doesn't ask for anything. She just settles in for a nap. When she's rested, she shows herself back out. But you're pretty sure she'll come again. You can watch for her by the window, or you can go outside and play. She might come when day turns to dusk. This time, grief is not an elephant or a deer or a fox, but a mouse. Look into her eyes. They are curious and kind. Stroke her gray cloud ears. Maybe grief is good at listening because she has those giant ears. Sit quietly with her. Then, when you're ready, talk to her. Tell her you sometimes trumpet to the sky. Tell her you sometimes bound and bay and squeak. Tell her most days, though, you feel small, like her. Talk until the stars begin to come out, until listening becomes light, until grief becomes a small, smaller, smallest firefly. You can hold her in your palm, uncurl your fingers, and watch her fly into the night sky. As her light flickers on and off, on and off, on and off, you'll remember. Remember and wonder, remember and miss, remember and love. The end. So it doesn't specifically talk in this book about what grief is, but it does compare grief to all the different animals. And some of you listening to this book, or if you are an adult, you may be showing this video or decide to read this book to children who are experiencing grief. And we want them to know and understand that grief is a feeling. It's something that you go through when someone you love or care about has died, or if you have kind of lost something, or maybe a big change has happened in your life, such as moving, changing schools, a divorce, you know, like a best friend maybe moves away or doesn't want to be your friend anymore. There's lots of ways that we can experience grief, not just when somebody dies, but that is often what we talk about when it comes to grief, is how it relates to when someone dies. And I really like how they compare the grief to animals and how they act and how they feel, and really about observing your grief and not trying to push the grief away. Because yeah, at first when you're experiencing grief, it does feel like a giant elephant, right? It's the biggest thing in the room. It takes up all the space and all the air you breathe. But over time, usually, maybe not all the time, but over time that grief starts to feel smaller and smaller. It doesn't ever go away. We always maybe have a little bit of grief, but it looks different because our life doesn't stop. We have to keep on living. We have to keep going to sleep at night, waking up in the morning, going to school, going to work, making friends, losing friends. All those things are going to keep happening despite the fact that you've lost someone or something close to you. And this book does a really good job about talking about that, and how, you know, you just look at your grief differently day by day, month by month, year by year. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to describe it. It's okay to look at it. It's okay to tell someone you love about the grief you're experiencing. So thank you for joining me this week for Grief is an Elephant. And I hope you can join me next week. We will be doing another grief-related therapy book for Children's Grief Awareness Month in November. If you are watching this some other time, well, you may be just watching this at a different time of the year, and that's great. Thank you for joining me. I will see you again next week.